Hey, guys. You're so quiet tonight. Hey, guys. Thank you. Okay, the word defy, it's a big one. One definition of it is to challenge or dare someone to do something that is deemed impossible. The mission of Defy Ventures is to transform the lives of people like yourselves, business leaders, and people with criminal histories through their collaboration along the entrepreneurial journey. Now, I don't know about you, but I go to a whole lot of conferences, and when I go and I see a speaker in the first 20 seconds or so, I'm kind of sizing them up, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to take away from this speaker? So right now you hear the prison something, and you might be thinking, what am I going to get out of this? But what if we came to Chicago Ideas Week or wherever we went, and we said, what do I have to give or to offer? How can I serve? What would it look like at the end of the Chicago Ideas Week? So just to give you some stuff to chew on, I'm going to ask a lot of questions throughout my presentation for you to think about. And I thought I'd start off on a high note here with one. What would it be like if you were known for the worst thing that you've ever done? I'm not going to ask you to share out loud, probably. But really, what would it be like if you were known for the worst thing that you've ever done? I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story because I never in a million years thought that I would end up doing this work. My only encounter with anything that was criminally related was that when I was age 12, a very good friend of mine was brutally murdered. So I didn't exactly have the warmest, fuzziest feelings about people in prison. At the age of 26, I was living the dream. I was in New York City working in venture capital and private equity, well on my way to making my first million by the age of 30. So I never thought I'd end up here. I got the most random invitation ever to go from New York City all the way to Texas on a prison visit one weekend. And I can't imagine what my life would be like had I not said yes for that visit. When I went, I thought that I was going for some zoo tour to see a bunch of wild caged up animals based on the perceptions that I had had. When I arrived to Texas on that prison visit, I cried my way through the entire weekend. Not because I felt sorry for the people that I met, but I felt sorry for myself. As a professing Christian who loved to talk about God's grace and loved second chances for myself, I could still point the finger so easily and condemn these people to this bad pile. And I wondered, what would it be like if they were given a real chance, like the chance that I have had? Wearing my venture capital hat, I also realized when I started having conversations about what landed these people in prison in the first place, that many drug dealers and gang leaders share so many characteristics in common with business leaders. I didn't understand that these gangs and drug rings are totally some of them are very impressive for-profit organizations. They have a bottom line. Many of them are run by bylaws, and they have bookkeepers and governing boards, and they have management teams, and they totally understand execution. And the one thing that I think they could have used a little work on was their risk management strategies, because they all got busted. But seriously, what would happen if these businessmen were equipped to go legit? Well, asking that question is what led me to leave my job, my fancy job in New York City, move to Texas to start what became the Prison Entrepreneurship Program, or PEP. In this picture that you see here, 80% of these guys committed violent crime. And they're the people that we serve throughout the Texas prison system. And we equip them through a mini MBA-type training program that also involves soft skills. And I'm really proud to say that over the next 5 years, under my leadership at PEP, we created what are probably the best statistics of any prison reentry program in the entire country. In those 5 years, these people who are known as a drain on society, 98% of them were employed. They earned $13 million a year in income and paid $4 million in taxes per year. Thank you. Out of the 600 graduates, 60 of them actually started companies that range from like landscaping and catering companies, all the way up to one guy who started a hedge fund who had committed violent crime, and a 23-year-old who started a real estate investment company and became a millionaire out of it. 8 of our guys made more than $100,000 in their first year out of prison. And our recidivism rate, compared to the 50 to 70% that you see nationally, was less than 5%. Some people say that we were cherry picking, and that's why. It's actually what I would tell you happens when a community of people comes around people, even the biggest underdogs in America, and loves them back to success. And the way that we did that is we recruited 7,500 executives and supporters and MBA students to wrap around them as judges in the business plan competitions, as mentors, just people to walk with them in their journey of personal transformation. So I love these stats, and I am super proud of them. But what makes me even prouder, and my favorite days that I live for, were the days when these men graduated in their caps and gowns from PEP. Only 50% of them had even graduated from high school. So we would put them in caps and gowns, and then we had a family reunification program where they would reach out and they would say, come to prison because your dad or your loved one is changing his entire life, and we want you to celebrate with him the biggest accomplishment of his life. So would you come? Many of the families didn't have the gas money to arrive to the prison, so we would provide them with the gas money and come. And then at the graduation, we would get all the dads on stage, and they would be wearing their caps and gowns. And these dads had missed so many opportunities to connect with their children. And I got it approved by the warden that the guys would get these little teddy bears, and we got these T-shirts, and the dads could decorate the T-shirts, and it said, "Your daddy loves you." And so we get the dads at the stage, and we would tell the kids, if your daddy is on stage right now, come up there, because he has a special gift for you. So these kids would charge to the stage, and the dads would just say, I love you. I'm never going to leave you again. And they were right, because our program worked. So I loved what we did at PEP because it worked. And I've always had a vision for national change, to not only do something that worked in Texas, because PEP is alive and well in Texas today, doing even better than when it was under my leadership. So I'd love to tell you that now I'm in New York City running Defy Ventures because I've had this national vision. But something happened in my own life that I don't even really like to talk about anymore, but I still do. I managed to blow up my own life. I talked about what would it be like if you were known for the worst thing that you've ever done. Well, I was married for 9 years as I was building out my organization, and I missed so many opportunities to be a wife. And I ended up finding myself at the age of 31 divorced, fairly unexpectedly for me. And in the wake of my divorce and in my total depression, I ended up making the worst decisions that I could have made. I acted against my values, and I had relationships with people who had been released from prison. It wasn't against the law, but I knew it was dead wrong and terrible in leadership. The one thing that I did very well is that I was honest and forthcoming about what I did. We had 7,500 supporters, and I had a choice on how I was going to tell them about my bad decision-making when I was forced to resign by the Texas prison system. I could have said, I'm resigning for personal reasons, and left it at that. But I knew that the organization would suffer from the gossip, so I came full out, and I said, here's what I did. I screwed up. I thought my life was over. In fact, I tried to take my own life because I was so incredibly depressed. It went out across the media globally, and when I saw what people were blogging about me, I didn't see any future for myself. It was in that same 48-hour time period that the news went out, that nearly 1,000 emails of love and support came into my inbox saying, what are you doing next? You've been an advocate for people who screwed up, like we stand with you. So I took some time to go away to get help. I've gone through more therapy than I care to admit. I moved back to New York City because it's a city that gives me life and energy. And I got an offer to go back into venture capital, but the second that I got that offer in my hand, I felt like a sellout because I know why God has put me on earth. So with a community of people around me who loved me and supported me, very, very reluctantly and so nervously and with so much self-doubt, I launched what I now consider my 2.0 version of Defy Venture, or of PEP, which is Defy Ventures. And at Defy, what we do is we come alongside, we recruit the most accomplished former drug dealers and gang leaders that we can possibly find. And what I mean by most accomplished is that if they sucked at selling crack on the street corner, they're probably not going to make the best entrepreneurs, so they're not for Defy. But if they've served their time, owned their stuff, and want to move forward, we can transform that hustle. 50% of what we do is teaching hard skills, putting them through business plan competitions. They compete for $100,000 in microloans. We bring in executives it's like a Shark Tank business plan competition. We bring in executive mentors for them. The other half of what we do is all soft skills, transformational stuff, how to give a meaningful apology, how to be a great dad, how to take ownership and reconcile the past so you can move forward with your future. And in 2 years of serving these guys, I'm extremely proud of our results. Our recidivism rate, it's too early to really tell. It's just a good positive indicator of success so far, is 0%. We've served 75 graduates. We now even serve women. We've had our first 5 women graduates. Out of these 75, they've created 44 companies that have collectively generated hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue and created 35 new employment opportunities for other people in the communities that they serve in. We have 45 newbies, meaning 45 guys and women that we just admitted into our new group of entrepreneurs. We've raised $2.5 million and brought in 1,500 executives. Even Richard Branson has become an advocate of Defy, and we've gotten nice media about it all over the country. So I'm extremely proud of what we've built at Defy Ventures. So what we do and our results, it really fires me up. But me talking is not what fires me up. Hearing these testimonies from our guys themselves and knowing them is what fires me up. And so I've brought some of them with me here to Chicago, but I was super nervous about getting up on stage tonight in front of you. And I'm going to ask them to come up here, and they're going to share some of the worst things that they've ever done. And so I promised that I wouldn't bring them out here unless you guys first promised to be extremely supportive as you hear about their personal transformation. So do you think you can do that? Really hoop and holler as they come out? I need a little more love. Okay, come. You guys okay? All right. Very nice. Thank you. Okay, so I want these people to know how awesome you are despite the mistakes that you've made in your past, but let's start with the hard stuff. Would you mind, and we're going to start with just the two of you first, would you mind introducing yourself and just sharing the summary of your rap sheet?
Good evening. My name is Omar Cantwell. I'm 39 years old. I spent 19 straight years of my life in New York State correctional facilities for murder in the second degree.
My name is Jose Vasquez. I'm 27 years old. I was convicted for conspiracy to distribute heroin, and I was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison.
Now, I'm sure that you didn't just come out of the womb saying, I want to be a criminal when I grow up. So can you talk a little bit about the difficult circumstances that led to your arrest?
Like many men who wind up in prison, I grew up in poverty, but poverty for me created a sense of self-hatred and anger, which I used as fuel to identify violence with manhood. So at the age of 19, I was selling drugs at the time, and I got involved in a drug deal gone bad where I made the worst decision of my life, which was to take the life of another human being.
Well, I was raised by a single mother who worked 2 to 3 jobs just to put food on the table. I didn't have a father in my life, even though he was a major figure. He was a role model, basically. My father was actually one of the biggest heroin dealers in our community. So at an early age, I decided to follow in his footsteps. So by the time I was 16, I was already selling heroin. I went from making $40 a week to growing that business to making about $2,000 a day. In 2009, that's when I was convicted of the conspiracy and sentenced. And this is also the year where I was reunited along with my father and 3 cousins behind bars.
Okay. So why did you guys decide to change?
Well, for one thing, I found myself in a prison cell with a 15-year to life sentence with absolute certainty that I did this to myself. And I just got sick of hating me. I got sick of the self-hatred, and so I decided to transform myself to a person who would never commit this act again.
Well, my life changed the first time that my grandmother and mother came to visit me. So I want everyone in here to visualize going to visit your son, your grandson, right? I remember them being so anxious to see me because they were worried. They didn't realize I was actually behind about 4 inches of glass, right? So imagine being on the opposite side of that glass, watching the 2 most important people in your life crushed because of my actions. As I stood there, I realized the true harm that I caused them, my community, and myself. And that was the day that I decided to turn my life around.
Omar is newly admitted to Defy Ventures here, and you're working on building out a business. What is it?
Yes, it's an industrial kitchen cleaning business.
Okay, and talk about the legacy that you're working to build.
Well, what I want to do, I just want to provide young men with my background with jobs and just show them an alternative to what's already out there. Not through words, but through actions.
Okay, and Jose is a graduate of our first class. Talk about what you're up to now.
So with Defy's help, I was able to launch my own company, which is called Happy Vida. We're a personal concierge service. And now I am also on the Defy staff. So I'm able to come alongside, and Omar is actually one of my recruits, come alongside individuals like Omar and others who were in the same position I was when I left prison, right? One in change, one in hope, one in guidance. So I'm able to assist them.
It is so awesome to watch these guys give back. And we have a special treat for you from Jamerson here. So, Jamerson, why don't you tell them your story in your own way?
Good evening, Chicago. How you feeling? Well, after doing my time, I had no real opportunities of being employed or being productive to the community. I came across Defy while I searched for a job. I read the articles in the Times and Richard Branson's blog. On the site, I saw the stories of success, how they change your hustle up and help you rise for the best, the entrepreneurial training and being mentored by execs. And if your business plan looked good, they might invest. The competition between teams was hard and relentless. Style something like the Shark Tank or Apprentice. Catherine Hoke, she's making a movement, and it's not a joke, because you see she's showing and proving. Defy has me looking at life totally different, making positive moves and showing the commitment. My family and friends could see a change going on. And ever since my first day there, I felt like I belonged. No matter your time served, race, gender, or age, a new chapter of life, we all turning the page, breaking down walls and shattering perceptions, doing the impossible, that's the main intention. I went from a living hell where many others fell to sharing the stage with Malcolm Gladwell. I'ma get to the I'ma get to the top and shoot past the peak, and I'm happy to be part of Chicago Ideas Week.
Thank you. Thank you for showing them some love. It makes us feel very welcomed. They're not the only ones. A little known fact is that 92 million Americans have criminal histories, nearly 1/3 of US adults. And so I would like to engage you in the solution. What would it be like if you chose to make a difference in the problem that we have? If you're interested, at Chicago Ideas Week, we actually have a table outside. And you might be thinking, well, this is a New York City thing. That's nice, but I'm in Chicago. We're actually building out an online solution that will be nationally and even globally scalable, that will be able to serve people here, to bring our curriculum here, and to train you in how to be volunteers as well. So if you'd like to learn about opportunities, come be a judge in our business plan competitions in New York, you're welcome to by volunteering. We'd love for you to connect us with other people who can help us make a difference. We finally have, in closing here, a scholarship opportunity that you can provide. We're looking for 45 scholarships for these guys as they go through Defy. Here's a scholarship card. They're available at the table outside. If you'd like to plug in to make a difference this week, and you just get on our mailing list by filling out our action card, we'll show you how you can join Defy Ventures and making a movement, not just in New York City, but here in Chicago as well. Thank you so much for receiving us and hearing our stories of personal transformation.